Hi guys, welcome back. It's your girl Yummy.com. Thank you for joining me today. Happy Pride Month.
It's Pride again. It's inclusive and it's great. It's Pride again. But who let in all these straights? It's Pride again. Gender is just clothes. Let's go eat some Chick-fil-A. Nothing matters anyway.
Yes, I'm talking to you, my queens of queers and kings of everything else, my non-binary fairies, my everythings, my honeybees. It is that time of year again, and I'm gonna let you in a little secret. I, against my better judgment,
heterosexual.
Oh, God, help me, Jesus.
Yeah, you're not straight. You're just heterosexual.
I know. It's so hard to believe. Well, I am. I do, however, want to celebrate Pride Month the best way I know how, which is through the power of theater and art. I do want to provide you guys with movies that I found super helpful from my, again, straight perspective, that I love, that feature a lot of our LGBTQIA actors and people and their stories. I, again, am not the authority on that because of my condition, heteroitis, I know. So I'm not the authority on this kind of things, but these are just pieces of film that tell gay and queer stories that I found super helpful, and I actually just love from a cinematography standpoint, from a story standpoint, from all of those different type of standpoints. But for that, I'm going to need my handy dandy notebook. So I don't think I was being very clear on what I was saying, what we're going to do today. I have made a list of specifically movies, because while there are things that I do love that are not movies, like Pose, I watch that all the time.
And a lady. Anyone else? Shit. And the house of abundance has entered the building. We're giving realness, we're giving capes, we're giving peignets and corsets and surcoats and crowns. Oh my! Disney, watch your ass! Blenderella is in town. They are giving wands. They are giving prince and princess realness. Look at the prince. Yes, live, Lord Jesus. Listen and learn. Ah, yes! Walk for me. Walk for me. Yes! And there you have it. And where's the queen? Where's the one and only? Electra. The queen. The queen. The queen is giving a ball. The queen is giving a ball. Oh, yes! And the queen of them all. What are we signing?
I wanted to try and stick to movies just because movies are the easiest way to consume media and not get too attached, obviously. And obviously, I also wanted to make sure that the media that I'm showcasing today are not side stories, because often there's some beautiful pieces of work that I love, like Elite, that have beautiful couples and lovely stories. But with that show specifically, and a lot of shows that do showcase that, a lot of these characters are side stories, like also Sex Education. Like, they're side stories because they don't happen to the main character. They happen to the main character's best friend, or the main character's, like, other love interest, or something of the sort. So, that's what we're going with. And I wanted to try and throw in a lot of variety as well, because there's obviously, you know, the icons like Call Me By Your Name and, you know, other Blue Is the Warmest Color that are super iconic. But I wanted to try and throw some that maybe either you haven't heard, you probably have heard, you haven't heard, or just aren't like the typical ones that, like, you know, are on the first day of gay education. So with that being said, we're going to start with our first one, which is actually funny because it's one of the first queer movies that I ever did watch, and I watched it in school. Take that. And it is basically gay education. We're going to talk about Milk. That is my first suggestion for you guys. Milk is obviously the story of Harvey Milk, who was like one of the first gay politicians.
My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you.
Especially in San Francisco, really cared about his community and tried to make it as safe as a place for everyone of all sexualities there. It was about time because it was so weird to have such a disconjoined community between the politicians and the actual people who live there. There was kind of that gap that wasn't bridged, and Harvey Milk actually went out of his way to bridge that gap. The movie that I'm talking about is Milk. Obviously, if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. Highly recommend. That's what I'm doing here, recommending movies. It really does give you great queer education on Harvey Milk, who is one of the important figures, heads of, you know, of the gay rights movement, along with, of course, Marsha P.
Marsha P. Johnson and Harvey Milk, they paved the way for you to shake and feel. Stonewall was a kicky when they threw the brick. They fought for your right to be this chaotic.
They tell his story very beautifully, very lovely. I believe it stars a young James Franco, which is always interesting to see because, like, James Franco, for me, he's the same as, like, Johnny Depp. It's like, I don't know if I love you. I don't know if I hate you. I don't know what I want to do with you. But he was in it. He was very good, very lovely, very beautiful, actually. I think it's one of my favorite James Franco roles. Like, it's like Disaster Artist and then Milk. It also stars a young Sean Penn, who actually does play Harvey Milk himself. Story. Oh, and Thanos. Thanos is in it. Yes, Josh Brolin, aka, as you know him, the Snap King himself, the Snap Daddy himself. Thanos is in the movie as well, and I think Alison Pill is in it too, and I love it. She just plays neurotic so well, especially I watched her in Them like a couple months ago. She plays neurotic so well, and it's just so interesting to see. Basically, I like it because it is a retelling of an important figure. We know how I love that. One Night in Miami. And it is actually super interesting, very well acted, very well shot, and, you know, it just kind of paints a true picture of San Francisco at that time. And, you know, gives you a little history lesson. So it's like learning, but like fun. And with that being said, we're going to go to our next one. Our next one is Boys in the Band. Now, I'm talking about the latest version, obviously. Again, I had to choose this version because of the casting, okay? Listen, I wanted to see this on Broadway so badly, and I was heartbroken when I couldn't see it on Broadway, because, you know, I was still poor. Why did I call myself poor? Anyways, I couldn't see it, but then I heard gay savior himself, Ryan Murphy, who was just all over everything, was making a Boys in the Band version for Netflix, and that's what I watched, and that's what I recommend to you, because, listen, I am one of the few people in the world who actually unironically love Big Bang Theory. Yes, it's not the best. Yes, there's so many different problematic things. But there's problematic things in every show. Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Everybody loves that show, but it has hella problematic points. But I do love Big Bang Theory. I did like Big Bang Theory a lot when it started. And of course, my favorite character had to be the most annoying person on screen, which was Sheldon.
Bazinga!
And so it's always fun to see him act in things that aren't like that character, because that character was such him for such a long time. And like, you know, we saw him in Hidden Figures, like as an asshole. He's always kind of slightly an asshole in everything, which I think he started to get a little typecast for, but he is different and interesting, and it's like more true to who he is anyways. Like, he is a gay man, and he just happens to be like, this character that he plays in Boys in the Band is hosting, basically it's the story of a party, everything that happens in one night, and it is one man's birthday party that they're throwing.
You, this is Harold. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harold. Happy birthday to you.
It's at Jim Parsons' house essentially, and you see all these different characters, you see all these different character dynamics going on, and it's so funny to watch. Much like I would say like American Son, when you're remaking a play, there's only so much you can do, which is why I'm also super excited to see In the Heights, because I wonder how that's going to work out. But when you're remaking a play, there's only so much you could do, because in a play, you have to think of the budget. You have to have a minimal set. You can't be going all of these different places and all of these different things, and like without making it feel inauthentic within a play. So then when you're adapting a play to a movie, you really don't have all these, again, a lot of like variety and like settings and all these different things. But somehow they still manage to make it work. And even in dialogue, it feels kind of like a play. It feels like you're watching a real life play.
Louder so my mother in Philadelphia can hear you.
You're just standing there in a trance.
Was I?
You both know Donald, don't you?
Sure. Nice to see you. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd met.
Would make life a hell of a lot easier. Who are you calling?
Well, whoever it is, they're not sitting on top of the telephone.
Hello?
Must have been in the tub.
1 point.
I'd like to leave a message.
Oh, not in 1 point.
Would you say that Hank called?
And that's how I choose to watch it as. So this, and like it has a stellar cast. It has Matthew Balmer, who, oh my god, loved him. He was the reason why I watched White Collar for so long, because he was just a beautiful actor and a beautiful face. They also have Charlie from Teen Wolf. He's one of the twins from Teen Wolf. He plays this super dumb midnight cowboy, like, and it's so funny.
Because I hate that movie. If anyone knows me, they know I hate the movie Midnight Cowboy so much. Not because of the gay, mostly because of how it ended. I hate that movie to the bane of my spirit.
So the fact that he was playing like this kind of like stripper cowboy who was supposed to be a midnight cowboy was really funny. Andrew Rannells. Okay, listen. I love this man so much. I had the pleasure of actually meeting him. Like, I used to work at a place and he did an interview talking about his new role on Broadway, or I think he was talking about Book of Mormon of some such. This was years ago, and he was literally the sweetest and kindest person, especially me, who was like a young, fresh out of college girl, like, oh my god, I love you. I had just watched him on like Will and Grace, and he's like the first celebrity that I truly, truly loved that I like met on the job, and I was like, oh my god, I loved you. I just watched you in your episode on Will and Grace. And then like the person he was with was like, you were on Will and Grace? And he was like, let's just say I'm not gonna be winning any GLAAD awards from it. And I was like, oh my god, he is literally one of the most talented people in the entire world. Like, he is so talented in his voice, in his acting skills, in his range of character. Like, he gives you everything, and I love that about him, and I love that about all of these actors. All these actors are incredibly talented. The predominant cast was incredibly talented, and one of my favorite things about the movie is that you see this group of friends who are incredibly different. It's like a lot of the times, like, yes, obviously you have like Sex and the City, but it's usually female driven shows that are like a lot of like, oh, you have all these characters who are incredibly different but all incredibly bonded as a family. It's very hard to find like male driven shows like that, shows and movies like that, unless they're like, you know, robbing a bank like in Ocean's 11 or something. And it is so great. And if I had to choose a person who I was in the group, I would not sadly, because he's kind of the life of the party, I'd be Emery.
Hello, darling. Connie Casserole or Mary Don't Ask.
Hi, Emery. Come on, you can put it in the kitchen.
Who is this exotic woman over here, my dear? I thought you had a parish. Where have you been hiding your classically chiseled features? Anything for a sis, Mary.
Emery, no. I'm sorry, but that is exactly what I'm talking about. No camping.
Sorry.
The one that who everyone's like, shut up. You need to stop talking. Yes, you are hilarious. Yes, you are fun. But you are starting to get on everyone's nerves, okay? Pull it back. And that's who I kind of am at the party. So I loved being able to see me personally, my friend group within another friend group. And it kind of just drives home the point of like, gay people are not that different. Like, yes, they're like probably more fun.
Or straight culture, it's so bland. Yeah. It just, to me, like, looks like a black and white movie that with no sound, and then gay is like Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is that their friend dynamics are not that much different than any other friend group dynamic, and it kind of drives that point home when you have, like, you know, the toxic leader friend, the party animal friend, the kind of annoying calm one, the slutty one. Like, you have all of these people and the friend group, and it felt like my friend group. That's the way I would describe watching this movie, and that's why I would offer it to you young people. The next one I'm going to talk about is Moonlight. I don't have a lot to say about Moonlight because, like, what can you say about Moonlight that hasn't already been said? It literally won best film. It's such a beautiful film. Not in story in the way that it's shot. I mean, the story is great, obviously. It's authentic, it's raw. Janelle Monáe kind of kills her character. All of the truths untold. It gives you the same vibes. For me, it gives you the same Call Me By Your Name vibes. Like that coming of age, that understanding of who you are, and that slow realization, but without like all the white people, and I like that. And it's shot to the most beautiful Dickens. Like, this is what people take when they, like, when you are black and you're an actor, and you have a black actor and you're the one who's doing the lighting, grips, pay attention. Lighting department, pay attention. This is what you need to look at, because you see the way that the light bounces off the reflection of the ocean and the skin, and then just it makes all of the scenes so much more heavy and understood because the lighting is so beautiful and succinct. The same thing goes for like other movies like Beale Street Can Talk and all these other movies that just plays such a beautiful part. So cinematographically, but like that in that aspect, it is so beautiful and it stands out. But also in the story of it all, in the story and the growing pains that happens with all of the characters, it kind of like there's genuinely, if you haven't watched Moonlight already, there's nothing I can say in this moment to convince you to watch it, but you do need to watch it. That is all I'm going to say, and we're going to move on to the next one, because if I keep talking about Moonlight, I would genuinely get emotional, and no one wants that here. This is a fun video, not where Yemi's going to get on her high horse and start preaching about seeing people of color in roles, in gay roles, because that is something very real and very still looked down upon in the communities of color and all these different things. So off her high horse, off her soapbox, and we're moving on to the next one, which is a super fun one. And honestly, besides Milk, this might be like the first gay movie I ever saw, and I would remember being so young when I watched it, and I was like, she's kissing another girl. What? This is wild. Do you guys see this? Are we all looking at the same thing? And I don't know who I was talking to because I was watching it by myself. And it is the movie But I'm a Cheerleader. I know I said I wasn't going to do any like super icons on this list, but I can't make a list without my first gay experience in cinema, which is But I'm a Cheerleader.
I'm a cheerleader. Be aggressive, try that. I'm a homosexual. I'm a homosexual. Hermela.
It is by far one of the most funny, campy films ever. It is literally about the story of a cheerleader who has to go to Pray the Gay Away camp. She doesn't realize she's gay. Everyone else around her does.
Don't even like to kiss me.
It's true.
Honey, we think you're a
Lesbian.
I myself was once a gay. Now I'm an ex-gay, Megan.
But she doesn't realize she's gay. And in this fun twist in terms of event, she doesn't accept that she's gay until she goes to the camp that's supposed to turn her not gay. So it's like counterintuitive. Obviously, that's the big camp joke of it all, but honestly, it is a hilarious and intuitive story. Like, it gives you that that you want. It gives you that story, that mesh, that telling of a funny kind of like, but serious, a real serious thing, because conversion camps are a real serious thing that are damaging mentally to so many people. But like, it throws it and takes it to wackadoodle place. It takes it to like weird and wacky, like one of those like camp counselor movies you would watch, like Soul Searching or something. It's like movies about just bad kids at camp, like
About foreplay.
Oh, foreplay is for sissies.
And it truly is hilarious and great and gracious. Like, I love that film. It's one of the first things I ever saw in gay film, in gay cinema. Yeah, it's literally the first thing I ever saw, and I remember watching it, and I was like so scandalized as a young child. You know, as a young pastor's child, I was like, what is happening? Why is there so many women? What? She's looking at boobs? What? Who? Me? What? But then, by the time I got to the end of the movie, I was just dying. I was like, yeah, girl, you do you. So that being said, that's the one I have. And then the last movie I have, I mean, obviously, I want to do, like, shows as well. Tell me, guys, if you think I should do shows, because there are a lot of great shows that I super love, and I feel like it would benefit. But for the last movie, I wanted to throw it, you know, I wasn't going to make this list without, you know, some foreign language film involved. And the one I'm talking about is Handmaiden. And yes, again, we're glorifying the lesbians, because this film is what really inspired me to make this list and make this video, because it is so good. It is so good. I like, okay, it's like, there's like boobs, okay, like there's like sex stuff that goes on, but like not more than like Game of Thrones or something. So if you've watched Game of Thrones, you're fine. Don't be scandalized when you see boobs all of a sudden. But it is amazing. It's basically the story of it's set in the colonial times of Korea, which they were ruled over the Japanese. And basically this Korean woman who is a pickpocket has to go live and become the handmaiden to a Japanese woman, in order to, like, she's like trying to steal money and like get her inheritance or whatever with this other guy. And it's told into like 3 parts, and it's truly the biggest FU to all men, and I love that about it.
Patience, patience, patience. I ain't got time. Just going through the motions. You tell me what I wanna hear, but never what you're feeling. Keep me in the dark, but I've had enough. I don't want forever. I just want eventually. I don't need forever. Yeah. I just need some clarity.
I love when you get to screw over the man. Oh my gosh. And then when you're being a lesbian while doing it, you sold my heart. I love it. It's so great. It is an amazing. It's a longer film than most of the films that I have on this list. Maybe not most of the films actually, but it's a longer film, but it is so good, man. Like, it is so genuinely good to watch, because it is genuinely surprising the things that happen. Like, I don't want to tell you what happens, because I don't want to ruin the experience of first watching it. If I could mind wipe myself like I was in Men in Black and rewatch it for the first time, I would. It was so good, because the characters were so well written. Even with the language barrier, the characters were so well written. They were so well acted. And then just the sheer amount of knives out twists and turns that go on during this situation, and then how it all ends and wraps up so perfectly. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm telling you now, if you have not watched Handmaiden and you don't have like an aversion to like captions, there's no dubbing. We don't do dubbing in this house. Subs over dubs always. But if you don't have an aversion to like captions, I recommend you go watch it, because it is a beautiful, I guess if you're like Japanese or Korean, maybe You don't want to see a love story between a Japanese person and a Korean person, especially during that time period. But if you do not have those aversions to it, obviously with good reason, because a lot of fucked up shit happened during that time period, I recommend it. I highly recommend it. I definitely go recommend it. You get to learn about all this, like, kind of like this guy who like has this self-hatred within him for like being Korean, and like he like tries to pretend to be Japanese, and all these other things happen, and it is just really great, and it's like it's genuinely shocking and super amazing, and there's lesbian stuff. So that is my list for you guys. I'm sorry if I wasn't super succinct on some of the topics. I know I was a little lighter on explaining like Moonlight and But I'm a Cheerleader, but those are like two of my like serious favorites, so there's nothing I can say without ruining the plot for you. But yeah, happy Pride Month. I hope that you are enjoying yourself. I hope that this helps. I wouldn't say this is the media you consume to educate yourself on like LGBTQIA plus rights and history. This is not what I'm telling you to do. I'm not saying that you should go watch Handmaiden to understand the systemic issues that plague the gay community. That's not what I'm telling you. But I am saying that if you want to consume more gay media, which should be like a part of your everyday media, like how you just like, you know, we're not all just consuming white straight media all the time, which you should, you know, not the white straight media. You should consume more gay media, more media about people from like Asian descent, about people from Black descent, about people African descent, about people from all over the world, and all different types of media. Happy Pride Month, my darlings. Celebrate, get your freak on. Don't worry, I'm yummy.com. I will be back, so stay tuned.